How's it going, everyone? This is Rosalind, and today I'm going to be taking a little break from my Persona 5 Royal content to talk about the Persona 5 Scramble demo that just released the other day. If you're unfamiliar with what Persona 5 Scramble is, it started out as a Persona Warriors game, but evolved into what the devs are saying is a full-blown Persona game. For this video, I'm going to be breaking my impressions down into 4 categories: the battle system, sound, exploration, and presentation. If you've played a Warriors game before, then you will know what to expect. The player controls Joker with his companions fighting alongside him against hordes of punching bags cosplaying as various enemies from the Persona series. Joker himself feels really great to control. You can dash with R2, do a standard attack by hitting circle, and a special attack by hitting triangle. Various combinations of circle and triangle combine to form a myriad of combos that all look really cool and flashy. Additionally, you can jump and even double jump with the X button, and then proceed to execute mid-air combos as well. It's also possible to dash in mid-air, giving Joker some great mobility. Holding down L1 will bring up the ability to use Joker's gun, while holding R1 will bring up the command menu for Joker's currently equipped persona. From there you can select what move you want to use, and you'll get a visual representation of its area of effect on the ground, both around Joker as well as in front of him. It's also possible to switch to different persona that Joker may currently have equipped. Much like with the Persona series, enemies have weaknesses and can also be debuffed, allowing for things like technical and weak spot damage. Dealing technical or weak spot damage will damage an enemy's break gauge. Depleting this break gauge will down the enemy, allowing for an all-out attack by hitting the circle button when near the downed enemy. Against large enemies, you may need to deplete multiple break gauges to down them. And in some cases, after hitting a large enemy's weakness, you may need to do a follow-up attack with circle to actually deplete the break gauge. Finally, there are objects throughout the battlefield that Joker can jump to by hitting the circle button. These can be anything from light poles to rafters. All in all, it's a pretty fun battle system, but it's not without its flaws. For one, the circle button is used for far too many things. This becomes most apparent when there is an object you can jump to, as well as a downed enemy on the same screen. In these situations, the game tends to favor moving to the object as opposed to doing an all-out attack on the enemy. This provides the enemy ample time to get up, and it costs you some damage. Then there is the issue of not being able to issue commands to your party members. Maybe this becomes available later on in the game, but during the demo they just did their own thing. This can be an issue because if you need some extra healing or help hitting an enemy's weakness, as it stands, you currently have no way to tell your party members to do those things. My biggest concern about the battle system, though, is that it is a Musou style system. There are a lot of cool mechanics, but because the enemies are essentially glorified punching bags, there isn't any real incentive to use them. Oh, and don't get me started on how completely useless your gun feels when you only have 12 bullets but are surrounded by 50 enemies. I just fear that this will end up like every other Warriors game I've played, where I get incredibly bored with the battle system about midway through. Hopefully I'm wrong, but we'll have to wait and see. The music is as great as you'd expect from a Persona title. Much of the music used in the exploration parts of the demo were taken directly from Persona 5, whereas the battle music consisted of some pretty cool remixes of various Persona 5 battle themes, giving them a sort of rock and roll vibe. Where I feel the sound design fell short was with audio balancing, and this is an issue that I feel a lot of Japanese games struggle with. Specifically, there were a number of cutscenes in which the background music overpowered the characters to a point where it was hard to hear what they were saying. And like many Japanese games, there are no options in the menu to manually adjust sound levels. It's unfortunate, because Atlus is generally pretty good about this sort of thing. Out-of-dungeon exploration is just as you would expect from a Persona title. In the demo, we were given access to a small section of Tokyo, including Yongen-jaya, and outside of Shibuya Station. A couple of new additions I noticed was that characters are now marked by an icon of their face on the in-game map, and there is now a marker on screen showing where to go next, and it also shows how far away that marker is. Once in dungeons, things start to take a downward turn. The dungeon provided in the demo, which I assume is the first palace based on the fact that Morgana even called it that, was pretty bland. It was basically a number of large rooms in which battles take place connected by small corridors. There were some light exploration elements to it, but not much. I'm hoping that the later palaces are far more interesting, because if this is what we can expect, it's a major step down from the well thought out palaces of Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal. Finally, let's talk about the game's presentation and graphics. Much like with Persona 5, Scramble is very stylized with its overall presentation. It takes a number of things from Persona 5 and then changes others, such as with the new in-game menus. It's kind of hard to explain in words, but while I think it works overall, I do feel that a lot of the atmosphere that was present in the original Persona 5 games has been lost. Maybe I just need some time to get used to it first. What actually concerns me though, are the game's graphics. While not terrible, there is this strange jagged pixelation around the character models. It's not very noticeable when in battle or running around in a palace, but it is very noticeable during cutscenes. The only thing I can think of is that the game was originally designed for the Nintendo Switch, and then ported to the PS4 later. But during the process of porting it, the developers decided not to add enhancements that account for the increased power of the PS4. This isn't necessarily a deal breaker for me, but I am a little disappointed as I know they can do better. I mean, just look at how crisp and polished Persona 5 Royal looks. My biggest complaint, however, comes from the game's in-game text. Not the story, but the actual text used in-game. To put it bluntly, it looks bad. Not only is it kind of blurry, it looks as if somebody hit Ctrl A and bolded everything. I'm not sure if this was intentional or not, but if it was, I would be curious as to know why it was done, especially when they could have just used the exact same font settings as Persona 5 and Persona 5 Royal. And that is it for my initial impressions on the demo for Persona 5 Scramble. Despite some of my issues and concerns with what I saw, I do still plan to pick up the game when it releases and give it a fair shot. The bad text and lower graphic fidelity are both things that could possibly be fixed with a patch after all. As always, if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comment section below. Also, I do stream most days at twitch.tv/RosalindGaming, so feel free to come hang out over there. I will be streaming Persona 5 Scramble when my copy arrives. Next time, I'll be getting back to my Persona 5 Royal coverage, so until then, take care.